In this video, we'll be looking at this USB-C docking station from TobenONE. The specific model is the UDS033, and they did send this in before review, but as always, that does not affect your opinion in any way. So this is everything we get in the box. We do have the hub itself, a USB-C cable for, of course, connecting your computer, a power cable for connecting the brick here, and of course the brick itself, which is for powering the hub. It is pretty solid here, like it's almost the size of the hub itself, this brick, so a bit big, but of course you're going to be powering a ton of devices using that, so that makes sense. And then we just have the user menu, which is of course always good to have. Looking more at the hub itself here, it feels to be very high quality. It's a pretty good weight to it, made of aluminum it looks like, so definitely a very nice hub overall. It feels like a very premium product, which is always good. All our ports will be on the sides here on the left and right. There's nothing on the bottom or top, so you can kind of choose how you want to set it up. If you want to have it laying down with everything connected or have it like that, totally up to you. But going into the ports itself, you can see we do have a ton of different display options, which is really nice. That's a lot more than normal docking stations, so that's already a great sign. We do have 3 HDMI ports and 3 display ports, so you can connect up to 3 displays if you're using this on Mac, or up to 4 displays if you're using this on Windows. You can't use HDMI 1 and DisplayPort 1 simultaneously, but for the first 2 you can choose between HDMI or DisplayPort, and then use the other 2 ports as well, depending on your device. We do have a USB 3.2 port here, the port for actually charging the hub, a LAN port for connecting wired internet, and then the USB-C port for connecting your actual laptop. On the other side here, we have a power button, it looks like. We do have 3 more USB 3.2 ports, a headphone jack for connecting headphones or speakers, a micro SD card slot, a SD card slot, and then 2 more USB-C ports. So a ton of different connection options here. That's always very good to see. And the build quality is very good as well. So we'll go ahead and get it all set up and show you what it looks like. Alright, so this is what it looks like when it's all set up. As you can see, we have a bunch of different devices connected here. On the left side, we have our speakers. So these speakers here, connected via the aux port. We have 1 USB-C port being used, which is for this Ethernet cable. It's not necessary, of course, because we actually have an Ethernet port over here, but this is a 2.5 gigabyte adapter, so a little bit faster. I do have 3 gig internet, so it's better to use that rather than this one, because this one only supports gig, so still pretty fast, definitely good enough for most people, but I am using that adapter because of that. Then we do have 2 other USB-A ports being used at the bottom. One is for this printer here and another for a webcam. On the right side, we have the connection to the actual MacBook. This is just via 1 USB-C cable, so that 1 USB-C cable is connecting both displays, the peripherals, as well as charging the MacBook, all through that 1 cable, so that's super nice and convenient. Especially if you're using multiple devices and you want to switch between them, it's really convenient because you can just kind of take out this 1 cable, plug it into your other computer, and then everything will connect automatically. So super nice and very convenient, and that's kind of the huge benefit of having a docking station. Then we have the power for the actual docking station itself, which is powering, of course, your MacBook as well as all the peripherals. Then we just have 2 displays being used, so one is via DisplayPort and one via HDMI. We still have 2 free ports here at the bottom, so as I was saying, for a MacBook you can use up to 3. So I'm only using 2 at the moment, but I do have a 3rd option available as well. And if you're using it with Windows, you can actually use all 4, so you can use these 2 ports as well as one of these 2 each. And then you will have 4 displays total connected via 1 little docking station. So it's very convenient to say the least, and we have all these things connected and still have a bunch of free ports. So as I said, we have room for more displays, even Ethernet cable if you wanted to use that instead of the adapter I'm using, a USB 3 port on this side. Then on the other side, we have still a free USB-C port, another USB-A port, as well as these SD card slots that I'm just not using at the moment. So really convenient to have all these things connected via 1 hub. As far as the displays go, I am using it with 1 ultra-wide monitor and 1 just normal 1080p monitor. So the ultra-wide monitor is running at 3440 by 1440 and it's pushing 100 Hz. So this supports up to 4K at 60 Hz. But if you're using it with a lower resolution monitor, it actually supports higher Hz. So that's super nice. The 4K 60 Hz should be good enough for most people. And that's several displays at 4K 60 Hz. So it's really powerful. Definitely pushes a lot of power through that. But again, because I'm using it with a lower resolution monitor, I mean, it supports the ultra-wide, which is super nice to support that kind of resolution. But because it is lower than 4K, it does actually support it at a higher Hertz, so it's running at 100 Hertz. One thing to note is that at least with MacBook, you do need to use a certain software. So it's essentially like installing drivers here. As you can see, it's called DisplayLink, and you need to install this. It does have my 2 monitors connected via that DisplayLink software, so that's just an issue with MacBook actually. Every single hub will kind of need some sort of software. If you want to just connect 1 monitor, you won't have any problems because you're able to do that without any software. But if you want to connect 2 monitors or more, you will need to use that DisplayLink software. So not a huge deal. It doesn't have any issues or anything. It is just something you need to install. So a little bit annoying to have to install it, but again, that's an issue with the MacBook, not an issue with the hub. And once it's installed, it all works perfectly. It opens automatically and all the monitors are connected automatically and all that, so not a huge issue at all. In terms of of the performance, I haven't had any issues with it at all. Everything just kind of works exactly as it should. Again, you do have to install that software, but once that's installed, it really just kind of is plug and play from there. So super nice and very convenient. Again, a lot better than having a ton of different adapters and dongles hanging off your MacBook. Just everything connected via one USB-C cable is incredibly convenient. My one potential complaint is that I think the ports would look better if it was like on the back or something like that. I think having this set up like this looks nice, and I guess in theory you could actually like mount it under your desk or something if you wanted to. So that could be a good way to kind of hide it. I might do that later on. But I do wish that these kind of ports were all at the back. Maybe you have some quick use ones at the front, like the SD card slots and the aux cable and things like that could be at the front. But I do think it'd be a little bit cleaner looking if these ports were just located at the back rather than kind of having them come out of the side like this. It is still a very clean looking hub overall, just given that it is metal and a really solid construction. So I think it's not a huge deal, but I do think it's situated in a way that if you're able to mount it really easily. So I think if you're having it on your desk, having it at the back would be nicer. But with how it's situated, it's really made ideally for mounting, which I think is really good. You could kind of put it under here, under the desk, with some adhesive or such, and have everything connected, and you wouldn't even see it at all. So not a huge deal, but again, if you are displaying it, I think that would be my one small complaint, is that it would look better if the ports were at the back. But it depends on how you're going to be using it. Of course, there are pros and cons to each. So overall, I'm very, very happy with this hub, and it's definitely one of the best ones I've ever used. It has a ton of connectivity options. It looks really good. It just kind of works exactly as it should, and there's not much I could change about it. And this makes it very easy to recommend. Again, if you're using up to 3 monitors on MacBook or 4 monitors on Windows, all that is covered, so it works really well and has a ton of versatility as far as hubs go.